Well, folks, this might be one of the ugliest stock markets I've ever partaken in, to be honest. Okay, we got a lot to look into today. I want to show you a lot of different stocks. I want to show you kind of what's going on in the underbelly of this market, what I'm looking at here. Obviously, right off the bat, I thought it was appropriate to start with Tesla stock. So Tesla, obviously, a couple days ago, knocks it out of the ballpark when it comes to production deliveries. It's going to, change every single number when it comes to Tesla stock. It's going to change their upcoming quarterly numbers. They're going to beat by a huge margin, or analysts are going to have to bring up their numbers. The following quarter, the current year 2021 numbers, and 2022, all those numbers are going to have to come up because of this amazing quarter Tesla's had, right? And yesterday the stock sells off pretty big, and today it sells off again pretty darn big. And so now we're in a situation when it comes to Tesla stock where this stock hasn't even made a very big move off of the back of, the most insane production and delivery numbers you could possibly have. And I think this is just kind of a good starting point for a video like this to explain how ugly this market truly is right now and what can potentially happen here. Since I got in the market in 2008, 2009, I've been, part of some pretty ugly markets. Obviously, 2008, 2009, I don't really count that too much because I had such a small amount of money in the market and I was just getting my feet wet in the market, right? So that one I didn't feel nearly as much as maybe other folks felt that really had substantial amounts of money. Obviously, we had the 2011, all the double dip recession fears, those sorts of things, even in 2010 a little bit. And those I definitely felt, okay. Then there was kind of this malaise in the market, I call it, in 2015 into 16 a bit, which was kind of a little bit of pain to go through because it's just the market just wasn't doing much, man. And it was just kind of like, what's going on here? A lot of stocks would announce good news. It wouldn't matter. It wouldn't move the stock price. And it was just kind of a very, very boring market for quite a while there. Then we had obviously the December 2018 dip, which December 2018, up until now, I think that was the ugliest market I ever partaken in, and the reason being is through about the half part of December, we were on pace for the worst December since the Great Depression as far as the stock market went. It was a very, very ugly time. And I felt like that was kind of the ugliest market. Now, technically, the ugliest market I've partaken in was obviously the Rona crash, right? But I don't really count that one so much because that was one of those sorts of markets like you knew it was going to get ugly, right? So you were mentally prepared. It was like, oh my gosh, we're going to have to shut down the world economy. Is the stock market going to have to close? Like there was so much fear in the market, you could understand how ugly the market got. And the market dropped the fastest it had ever dropped in history. It was like 35% in 22 trading days. It was a record, right? But I don't really count that as the ugliest market I ever was in, just for the mere fact that it was literally like shocking, right? Like, oh my gosh, like the whole world's going to shut down or a company's going to survive. I feel like some of these other moves were actually uglier than this, even though that was technically the worst, right? But here we are in this market, and I just feel like we're just in this situation, especially with small cap stocks, where it's just insane, like literally insane. The Russell, it hasn't done anything in a year, right? But it honestly feels like it's down substantially in the past year. And the reason it probably doesn't is because the Russell, just like many of the indexes, is held together by the biggest stocks in that index, right? And there's some stocks holding the Russell together that aren't even like, you wouldn't even think of some of these stocks as traditional small cap stocks, because a lot of the small caps we consider companies with a $5 billion under market cap. A lot of the biggest Russell stocks have well over a $5 billion market cap. So I think it skews all the numbers and it makes the Russell look like it's doing way better than it really is, even though clearly if you look at a one-year chart, it doesn't look like it's impressive in any manner, and we're down substantially from several different peaks we had in the Russell over the past year or so, okay? But nonetheless, the Russell is basically lying to you. It's actually much worse than it looks, right? If you look at the Russell's biggest components, right, you see stocks like AMC, Avis, this Lattice Semiconductor, Crocs, like a lot of these different companies, Macy's, BJ's Wholesale, a lot of these companies have, $7 billion, $8 billion, $10 billion plus market caps on them. So this is actually kind of a situation kind of like we have in the S&P 500, where the biggest of the big stocks are kind of holding it together for the entire index and making it look better than really what's going on and what the truth is really out there in the market. Okay, hope you guys are enjoying this, by the way. Don't forget to subscribe. Now, I feel like Beyond Meat, I might do a full dedicated Beyond Meat video later today. I might have made a move in regards to this stock here today. But I feel like Beyond Meat is the definition of this market right now. So Beyond Meat comes out after market yesterday, announces a massive deal with KFC to launch plant-based chicken at KFC restaurants across the 4,000 restaurants. Huge deal with Yum Brands there, right? And the stock goes up after hours, and it opens decent today. It didn't even open as high as I might have thought. It opens at kind of like 65, 66 range and just completely sells off to, once again, another 52-week low. So they announced this massive partnership. The stock has already been devastated at 52-week lows, right? There's something that happens in the market where sometimes if a stock is performing amazing, right, and it goes down based upon news, you can say, well, it might have been priced in. Well, with Beyond Meat, the stock's at a new 52-week low every single day. So nothing's really priced in with the stock. It's just been devastated. And they have some phenomenally great news. It doesn't get better than that. The amount of, I don't want to go in depth on it, but it doesn't get better than it, right? And yet the stock sells off 4%. 4% to another 52-week low. That's how ugly this market is. A move like this is simply almost shocking to me on just how ugly this market really is right now. You look at a stock like Roku here today, down 11.5% with that one, right? Just a massive move down near 52-week low for Roku here today. Look at Square stock today. I mean, you want to talk about a stock that, it's a great company, but Square is seen as a riskier player in the fintech space, higher growth. And they also seem like they're more reliant on Bitcoin. And so if Bitcoin's struggling, which we'll look at Bitcoin in this video, then guess what? Square sometimes is going to get pulled down, on the back of that, right? And you look at Square stock here today, down 8%. Wasn't even any massive news in relation to Square stock today, and the stock's down 8% to another 52-week low here today of $143 a share, right? I mean, you're looking at this stock now down. It's down literally 50% from its 52-week high. For a large, this isn't like this is a small cap stock. This is more of a large cap stock when it comes to Square stock. $66 billion market cap, right? And at its peak, it was $130 billion, $140 billion range. I mean, that's just, it's unbelievable, and it's like, the worst part of this is, for these stock prices, is where's the bottom? When you continue to see these stocks just free falling, like this is a free fall day for Square stock on the back of no news. It's like, where's the bottom? Is it at 120? Is it at 100? Is it at 143 today? Is it at 80? Is it at 60? Where is the bottom for the stock? And that's where it starts to get so hard for these stocks, is where's the bottom? Because they're just showing no signs of resilience. They're showing no signs of any sort of bounce back, like we just showed with Beyond Meat, right? There's just nothing there. Just nothing with Beyond Meat that just gives you any hope to, maybe this is a bounce back. Look at a stock like Palantir today. Look at Palantir. Stock down, 6+% here today for Palantir, down to $17. It hit a new 52-week low at one moment here today of $16.87. And when it comes to Palantir, we know that the business model is pretty darn exciting one at the cross sections of data and artificial intelligence. It seems like a really sticky business model. We know all that, but man, none of that matters right now. None of that matters in this sort of market right now. It's just sell at any price, right? And Palantir, that's another one where it's like, where's the bottom for that stock? Is it at 17 like today, or 16.87? Is it at 15? Is it at 12? Is it at 10? And I don't think anybody can predict the bottom right now. Anybody, me or anybody for that matter, because we're just showing no signs of it being the end. It's just literally just down and down and down and down and down when it comes to these stocks right now. Look at the Chef. Right around a new 52-week low here today. It broke the 15 range. We've been, as far as the Chef goes, I should have pulled up a longer term chart here for the Chef, but we've shown resilience in the $15 to $16 range. We've seen it many times where the stock goes down to 15, 16, bounces back to 20 plus, goes down to 15, 16, and here today, it obviously breaks the $15 range. When it comes to Chef, obviously, you guys know how I feel about this company long term, but in terms of the short term, what can the Chef do that's going to, turn the stock around in the short term? I think this is more of the market's going to turn the Chef around when the market's going to turn the Chef around. If this company comes out and announces a great new partnership or great quarterly numbers, does that even turn around the Chef? I don't even know, to be honest. Look what happened with Beyond Meat today. 4,000 restaurants. The KFC deal is crazy big, right? And gives you much more excitement around Beyond Meat for doing. And look what happens to that stock. It goes down 4%. on the back of a big deal. So when it comes to Chef, like if they came out and reported, preliminary numbers that say they guided up, does that even help out the stock right now in this sort of market? I'm not sure, because it's just that ugly. It's just that shocking of a market right now. Look at the Planet here today. Right around a 52-week low here today, under $3 a share. That's one of those prices when the Planet goes under 3, it's just like, really, like with this long-term potential in front of this company, it's under 3. Well, okay, that's pretty crazy. And I think the scariest part of this whole market right now is the fact that, by the way, Google had a pretty big downward move today, down about almost 4% for Google McDougal. But in NVIDIA, look at NVIDIA here today, down over 5%. The scariest part of this is the S&P 500 is the large cap stocks are what's held up this market. And we're still looking at Apple, Microsoft, and a lot of these companies not that far off their 52-week highs. And it's like, what if these stocks sold off 10%? What does that mean for the rest of the market? Traditionally, what that means is, small cap stocks will get hit even harder. Now, I'm not sure if that's the way it plays out this time, because a lot of these stocks have been hit so hard. But if you go based upon historical standards, it could mean small caps and mids get hit even harder, right? So if all these, let's say, fell 10% on average, then we could be looking at 15% for the mids and 20% for the smalls, right? Which is just ridiculous, because we know like how attractive these valuations are for a long-term shareholder, right? We know that. Like, we run the numbers, we run the revenue projections, the net income projections, where these companies are valued right now. We know as long-term investors in these stocks, many of these small cap stocks are great deals, like steal deals. But all that long-term stuff, all that revenue projections, net income projections, in a market like this right now, it doesn't matter. It literally doesn't matter. And this is where the market starts to get very, very irrational. When numbers no longer matter, you're in a very irrational market, right? No different than if we go back to this time last year, January 2021. Numbers didn't matter on the upside, right? It was just kind of like everybody was just buy everything, risk on, right? And numbers didn't matter anymore for that moment, right? Eventually that ended starting in February, right? And all of a sudden, next thing you know, small cap stocks started to fall. Every stock started to fall pretty much. At least as far as the riskier stocks or high growth stocks. And a lot of those stocks ended up selling off 50, 60, 70, 80% to where they're at today, right? And some of those stocks that have great business models have shot way too far to the downside now. But that was a market that got very irrational, and now we're on the flip side of another market that's very irrational, just on the downside. And like I said, when those sorts of markets, numbers don't matter. Long term, anything doesn't matter. It's just all about the short term and sell. And so we're in this kind of situation now that's it can sometimes be very, very frustrating for long-term investors looking at these companies and like, really? Especially if you deployed almost all your money or all your money already in the market, and you're looking and you're like, I can't even buy this stock, or I have limited funds to buy some of these stocks at some of these ridiculously low valuations. It can be a very frustrating feeling, right? Because you're looking and you're just like, man, these stocks are ridiculous, right? I think Bitcoin's interesting as far as just looking at Bitcoin, right? I think whenever you're thinking about kind of getting a gauge on the overall financial markets, whether you are bullish on Bitcoin, bearish on Bitcoin, or don't even care about Bitcoin, I think Bitcoin price should be something we always look to a little bit, because in a market that wants to take a little more risk, Bitcoin is generally going to do much, much better in that sort of market, right? And if you see markets when, people want to take more risk, Bitcoin does very well. And on the flip side, when no one wants to take risk, Bitcoin does very, very bad. And if you look at a day like today, look at Bitcoin. It's down to, the lowest it's been in a bit here, right? And it's just clear as day that folks aren't looking to take risk right now. And there's just continues to be selling pressure in a lot of these things, okay? Now, as far as me, keep calm, buy the dip. That's exactly what I do. At some point stocks will bottom. We don't know when it is. Is it tomorrow? Is it next week? Is it next month? Is it next year? It's impossible to predict the bottom. And, as much as I want to say, we're pretty dang close to the bottom, which I feel like, it doesn't mean we are. I mean, if stocks have sold off to irrational prices as it is, right? Who's to say it can't get more irrational? And that's the part that's, frustrating for definitely a lot of investors out there as they look at this and they're like, when's the pain end? And no one really knows. That's just the honest truth in the matter. What we do know is if you're buying great companies for the long term, you're going to make a lot of money. And if they're getting sold to irrational prices, you're going to make a lot of money. You're going to have to go through some pain. I said this in a video last week. The road to easy street goes through the sewer, and it's the truth. And that's just the way it is in the market. And, at the end of the day, if you think ... stock is a 3x, 4x, 5x type stock over the coming years based upon what you think the net income is going to go to, based upon what you think the forward P is going to go to over the coming years, and what, is a fair P for that stock and a fair price to sales ratio, it makes sense to buy the stock, right? Regardless if it could keep going down, because at the end of the day, when things flip in the market, they flip pretty darn fast. That's for the downside and the upside. And I've been in countless markets where, I showed you that Dow chart, right? And look at how fast things can turn for the worse, and look at how fast things can turn for the better. Keep that in your mind. Much love as always, guys. Don't forget to subscribe, and have a great day.